volunteer fire department and big injury. He'd been up for 48 hours. He was going to be up another 72 hours. They were rescuing people from drowning. There were people, some old, some sick, absolutely cut off in the Oliveria Valley. Houses were walking into the floodways. We didn't know it at the time, but Margaretville, Fleischman's, Phoenicia, Prattsville, they were all underwater. Communication with the outside world did not exist. So for the next 2 days, I was watching CNN, CBS, ABC, NBC for news of what was going on in the area I consider home. I got all kinds of information about Vermont, and Maine, and Connecticut, and Virginia, and not one word about the Catskills. I've been up here a long time. I know how many folks in New York, as well as the New York Times, continue to confuse us with the long-gone and formerly decrepit Borscht Belt. I know that many in the metropolitan area actually express trepidation about coming here. You may find this hard to believe, but we've done focus group interviews in the city in which people have expressed a view of the Catskills as something out of the film Deliverance. I'm not making this up. We've heard it. We have it on film. So the metropolitan area and the national media regard us with at best benign indifference, and at worst with something shockier. That's our fault. We have failed to make our case. We failed to develop and promote the region's brand. We have failed to project a positive and attractive image. Instead of getting off the New York Thruway at exit 17 through 21, tens of thousands sail by on what some cynics call the Vermont Turnpike and drive on to Killington or Stowe or Bad River, spending hours more in their cars. Or they go to Albany, the Adirondacks. It's the darling of Albany. Here's this September's issue of National Geographic, featured on the cover, Forever Wild in the Adirondacks. Inside, there's a 16-page color rhapsody on the Adirondacks and the wonderful success of Forever Wild. Not one word about the Catskill Park, not even a picture of the blue line on their map of New York State. As far as they were concerned, the Catskill Park, founded at the same moment as the Adirondack Park, under the same Forever Wild restrictions and hopes, did not exist. Even though the Catskill Park is bigger than all but 8 national parks in the lower 48. And it's ours closer to the metropolitan area. We need to develop and project a new and irresistible brand and tout our many assets. We need to build on our proximity. We need to increase tourism in the region by a significant amount. Within the Catskill Park and New York City's watershed, tourism is about all we've got. Our abundant natural resources, timber, water, natural gas, bluestone, are all heavily regulated. We're not pierced by any interstate highway. There's no navigable river. The overlay of protected forest and the city's watershed will not allow for expanded manufacturing. In Banff, Canada, there's a statue of the chairman of Canadian Railways in the 19th century that built a wonderful castle hotel in Banff and the town. And on the base of the statue it says, since we cannot export the scenery, we shall have to import the tourists. The elegantly simple formula, we've got to embrace it. It will not be easy. The state of New York has got us totally fractured. There are 3 different DEC regional offices overseeing the Catskill Park. There are multiple offices of the DOH and the DOT, and the new makeup of the Empire State Development Corporation has carved us up once again. Ulster and Sullivan are in the mid-Hudson economic region, Delaware is in the southern tier, and Greene is in the capital region. So how do we act together? We have to organize ourselves. We have to remember how effectively we work together as the Coalition of Watershed Towns to encounter the incursions of New York City in the 90s. We can still look to the Catskill Watershed Corporation for economic leadership and to the Catskill Center, which is their counterpart in the private sector, for guidance in conserving what we've got and developing what we need. So, finally, here's the promising news. In the weeks and now months since Hurricane Irene, we've seen a most timely coming together throughout the region. We have to nurture that part of the Catskill spirit, and we have to keep it alive and growing. We have to recognize that we have been starving to death in the midst of a feast and arguing over scraps. The solution is simple. If the pie isn't big enough, grow the pie. We have 850,000 skier visitors along the 4 ski areas. 80% of them go to Wyndham and Hunter. I've consulted with national experts who assure me that if a vigorous 5-year marketing campaign to promote Catskill skiing was put in place, we could raise that number of skier visits to 1.5 million. And Hunter and Wyndham would still have 80% of the business. So here's what the region does have. We have a vibrant and hardy citizenry able to endure and rebound from anything nature may throw at them. Would you give me a glass of water? Thanks much. We have hundreds of miles of scenic highways and byways with gorgeous views at every turn, which is an eco-tourism gem. We have 4 major ski centers. We have 35 mountains over 3,500 feet high. We've got several fine mountain golf courses. We've got 2 tourist railroads. We have an existing and expanding network of hospitality venues. We have an endless variety of outdoor recreation: biking, mountain biking, hiking, rock climbing, skydiving, hunting, fishing, tubing, you name it. We have dozens of spiritual retreats. We have 2 fine universities and a number of community colleges. Several first-class cultural venues from Hunter Mountain and Bel Air Mountain to UPAC and Bethel Woods. My town, Shandaken, alone has 2 opera companies. We have a nationally recognized film festival and a world-class equestrian event. And perhaps most important, the region has a century-old record of stewardship over both the Catskill Forest and the watershed. The people, the towns, the state, and the city, and the environmental community have exercised constant and growing protection over the forest and the water. That's an enormous success story, and it needs to be widely told. Again, ecotourism is one of the fastest growing sectors of the nation's tourism business. We do not have sufficient tourist activity to support our hotels, restaurants, municipal tax bases, and we lack career paths for our kids. So we have limited prospect of job growth. Again, that's our fault. We failed to make our case to the outside world. We failed to create a brand to match our mountains, specifically to get the folks in the metropolitan area to appreciate that just as they have an incomparable asset in Central Park, they have an incomparable asset in North Park. And it's just a few hours away. We need a massive, professional, non-political, all-inclusive public relations and marketing campaign for the Catskill region, whether in or just outside the blue line. It'll take 5 years. It'll cost $5 million. I'm here to announce that to that end, we have this month formed the Catskill Park Resource Foundation, a not-for-profit 501c3 corporation, to raise this money and oversee this effort. We've engaged the services of Christine Nicholas to create and execute this 5-year plan. Christine headed up the highly successful NYC & Co. tourism effort in the city of New York to revive tourism there in the wake of 9/11. We've reserved the website CPR2.org in imitation of that successful effort NYC code. Christine will also have on her team Helene Naiman of HN Media Marketing and George Arts of George Arts Communication. I'm not finished, but let me introduce Christine, who will tell you briefly what we intend. Christine Naiman.